एवरीवन, दिस इज प्राची एंड यू आर वाचिंग लीगल एंड लाइट। हमारा आज का डिस्कशन विल बी अबाउट बाबाजी की बूटी। पर ये बाबाजी की बूटी है क्या? आपने गो गोवा गॉन मूवी देखी है? इसी मूवी के एक सॉन्ग से मैंने ये टर्म ली है बाबाजी की बूटी टू एक्सप्लेन द फैक्ट दैट इंडिया में कुछ ऐसे लोगों का ग्रुप एग्जिस्ट करता है जो सर्टन काइंड ऑफ ड्रग्स कंज्यूम करते हैं एज अ रिचुअल। For example, there are followers of Lord Shiva who consume different kind of drugs like cannabis, opium, marijuana जैसे कि अफीम और गांजा as a ritual. Now, this is the correct point to mention the fact that these drugs are not only prohibited in India but they are criminalized by the NDPS Act of 1985, that is the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substance Act. The discussion on drugs got heated up after the arrest of Aryan Khan, son of Shah Rukh Khan, in the recent Mumbai Cruise ship drug case. Bombay High Court have granted bail to Aryan Khan and other co-accused, that is Munmun Dhamecha and Arbaz Merchant, in this case on 20th of October, that is yesterday only. Now, the whole discussion about the drugs is moving ahead. It was at the point of hashtag fight against drugs, and now the discussion is taking different twists and turns with involvement of various officials with different allegations and of course with a communal and political color. But we need to hang in there and understand the answers of few questions which have been raised by whole of this discussion. गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया की जो सोशल जस्टिस एंड एम्पावरमेंट मिनिस्ट्री है, इट हैज़ सजेस्टेड दैट हमारा जो करंट एनडीपीएस एक्ट है उसे हमें रिव्यू करने की, क्रॉस चेक करने की ज़रूरत है। क्यों? टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस वी हैव टू लुक इनटू द फ्लॉज ऑफ दिस एक्ट। अगेन मिनिस्ट्री ने यह भी सजेस्ट किया है कि इंडिया डीक्रिमिनलाइजेशन की कंसेप्ट अडॉप्ट कर सकती है, पर कौन से केसेस में? वेयर इन the possession of drug is in small quantity and for personal use. Now, what is this small quantity? It is usually decided by the union government. For example, in case of cannabis, it has to be less than 100 gram, and in case of cocaine, it has to be less than 2 grams. The distinction between small quantity and commercial quantity can be made by comparing Mumbai Cruise ship drug case एंड मुंद्रा पोर्ट ड्रग हॉल। मुंबई क्रूज शिप ड्रग केस में जो ड्रग्स बरामद हुए हैं वो आइदर बिलोंग्स टू इंटरमीडिएट क्वांटिटी और स्मॉल क्वांटिटी, बट मुंद्रा पोर्ट ड्रग हॉल में 3 टन्स ऑफ कोकेन बरामद हुई थी जिसकी कॉस्ट वाज 21,000 करोड़। सो दिस इज व्हाट कमर्शियल क्वांटिटी इज। The NDPS Act provides the punishment for possession of drugs on the basis of the quantity possessed. For example, in case of cannabis, for the possession of small quantity, the punishment is up to 6 months. In case of intermediate quantity, it is up to 10 years. And in case of commercial quantity, it is minimum 10 years of imprisonment. Decriminalization means an act which was an offense according to a particular statute ceases to be so after decriminalizing it. For example, act of homosexuality was an offense under section 377 of Indian Penal Code, but Supreme Court by one of its decision decriminalized it and now it is no more an offense. ये जो decriminalization की concept है, it is not something new in India. रादर इंडिया ने अपने जो ट्रेडिशनल ड्रग्स है लाइक कैनबिस एंड ओपीएम, इन पे टोटल बैन लाने के मुद्दे पर हमेशा ही ऑब्जेक्शन रेज किया है। इन ड्रग्स को ट्रेडिशनल ड्रग्स इसलिए कहा जाता है क्योंकि इनका इंडिया में इस्तेमाल सदियों से चला आ रहा है फॉर वेरियस रीजंस लाइक फॉर मेडिसिनल पर्पजेस, सोशियो कल्चरल रीजंस, रिक्रिएशनल पर्पजेस, and as a religion or as a ritual it has been used in India. For example, on the occasion of Holi, on the festival of Holi, इंडिया के मोस्ट ऑफ द रीजन्स में एक ड्रिंक कंज्यूम किया जाता है जिसे भांग कहते हैं, एवरीवन मस्ट बी अवेयर ऑफ दिस। ये जो भांग है, इट इज़ मेड आउट ऑफ द कैनबिस लीव्स। नाउ दिस इज अ परफेक्ट एग्जाम्पल ऑफ द यूज ऑफ a drug, a traditional drug that is cannabis for recreational purpose. 1961 में इंडिया became signatory to the United Nations Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs. Because of this, इंडिया में जो ट्रेडिशनल ड्रग्स एग्जिस्ट करते थे, जिनका कल्चरल यूज वॉज देयर सिंस डिकेड्स, उस पे इंडिया को टोटल बैन लाने की ज़रूरत आ पड़ी. But India objected this and said that we will not bring a total ban on our traditional drugs. So India got a gross period of 25 years to enact their own law which will control the drug usage in India. 1971 में अमेरिका में स्टार्ट होता है वॉर ऑन ड्रग्स. दिस वॉज मोर लाइक अ पॉलिटिकल टूल अगेंस्ट पीपल बिलोंगिंग टू हिप्पी कल्चर एंड ब्लैक पीपल. बट it created international pressure and finally pushed India to enact the NDPS Act of 1985. This legislation brought a total prohibition on all forms of traditional drugs existed in India and made it a criminal offense, prescribing the necessary imprisonment or punishment for it. 1985 के NDPS Act के बाद इंडिया का ड्रग पैटर्न स्टार्टेड चेंजिंग ग्रेजुअली. Due to the criminalization of traditional forms of drugs like cannabis, more harder form of drugs were introduced such as heroin. And again, due to the stringent provisions, the mode of usage became more riskier. For example, injecting drugs which resulted in transmission of HIV/AIDS or other blood-borne diseases. Again, thousands of people are arrested for the small quantity illicit use of these narcotic drugs or psychotropic substances. This not only spoils their own life but also overburdens our judiciary with the similar kind of cases. This criminalization policy have also taken away from us the option of revenue which could be generated by legalizing and monitoring these traditional drugs and their usage. This trend of decriminalization of traditional forms of drugs like cannabis is spreading all over the world. In USA, 26 states have decriminalized consumption and possession of cannabis. In Belgium, they have decriminalized the personal use of cannabis, while according to the Portuguese law, they have made it to be an administrative offense. In case of India, there are various petitions pending before state high courts demanding decriminalization of traditional forms of drugs or decriminalization of small quantity consumption of drugs. Again, at United Nations Commission on Narcotic Drugs of 2020, India made a vote in favor of decriminalizing cannabis or removing cannabis from the list of dangerous drugs. To make the decriminalization policy work, we need to observe few factors, like we are following NDPS Act since last 35 years. So it will not be easy to directly jump back from the current position. Again, we are signatory to various international conventions regarding narcotic drugs. So it is but obvious that we need to observe the international principles while enacting our own laws. And thirdly, we need to strengthen our treatment and rehabilitation facilities which are already provided by the Act. We can take the example of Sikkim Anti-Drugs Act of 2006, which is a promising indigenous decriminalization policy or a model. According to this model, the state nowhere follows the deterrent theory against the drug users, but rather applies the public health policy in the best interest of these drug users. While concluding this, I would say that India is already vulnerable to the trafficking of narcotic drugs because of its geographical conditions. India is sandwiched between the Golden Crescent and Golden Triangle regions, which are the major regions of the world dealing in or trading or trafficking the narcotic drugs. So basically, instead of running behind the small fish, We need to catch hold the big fish and achieve or control the menace of drug trafficking. What is your opinion about the decriminalization policy in drug regime? Please let me know into the comment box and share this video as much as possible. Subscribe to the channel and don't forget to press the bell icon for the latest notification.